Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special preview episode of our Round 7 matchup against the Port Adelaide Power. Now, I'm joined by one of the other few fan channels that's in existence at the moment, a man by the name of Anthony Alesiani, or if you're a Port Adelaide supporter, you will know this man as the Pear. Mate, welcome, and how are you?
Mate, thank you so much for having me on the channel. I am a big fan, so it's a pleasure to be here. And well, we were talking just before. We're on top of the world at the moment, you and I.
Port on top, Carlton in the 8 for the first time in, I don't even remember how long, apart from when the season begins and no one's played a game and it's 0-0 for everyone. And we get in because we're the letter C, and so we get into the 8. So, yeah, no, mate, look, happy times on both ends. I mean, you guys are, we're going okay. We're going well. Obviously, we're 3-3. We haven't been in this position for, I don't even remember how long it's been after 6 rounds. But for you guys, but for the Brisbane Lions matchup, it's been very impressive from the Port Power.
Yeah, and it definitely has been. I think it's been our best start to a season since 2014. I think that was the last time we actually sat on top of the ladder for a good period of time, thanks to COVID as well. But I think the main thing has been our consistency, and even against Brisbane, they obviously were a good side, but there was still glimpses of that constant form that we've had. If only we could kick straight. But yeah, overall, pleasantly surprised to say the least, but also very happy that the one thing that's been buggering us up throughout the last few seasons have been consistency, and we've got that going in the first 6 rounds, which has been very good from a Port Adelaide fan's perspective.
Yeah, love it. Let's turn the focus on to your channel for a little bit before we get stuck into the game. So the Pear, talk to me about it. Talk to me about how it started, why it started, and what the journey's been like.
Well, it's sort of a cliche answer in terms of why I started it, but I think it was 3 or 4 years prior to starting it in 2017, I've always had this fascination with making like montages and pump up videos, so combining highlights, putting music over the top. And then one day I was like, let's turn this into something, because I'd post them onto a private channel and I'd get 300-400 views and share around on the little Facebook community pages that we have going. And yeah, I just woke up one day and thought, why not? Let's do it. Let's put my face on YouTube. 50 people can watch it, and just have a fan's perspective of what it's like to live as a Port Adelaide fan week to week. And now for the 3 years, we've had constant growth, and I think just overall it's been great to be connecting not only with the Port Adelaide community, but the AFL community as well, to get different fans' perspectives and other channels that are constantly growing. We're building a nice community, so it's fun. But that's the one thing that I've loved the most about it. It brings joy to me and my little baby.
Oh, mate, I totally concur with what you're saying. I think it's interesting. We, those who have the fan channels now, it's very early in the industry. I feel like it's a little industry within the industry, the fan channel notion. So it's kind of cool to be going along this journey together. We're both very, very early in what we're doing, and I can only imagine we'll be doing this every year for the next, I guess the rest of our life, mate. So once a year or twice a year, we'll get to grow old together.
I can't wait to turn 60 and turn around and say, what's going on, Port fans? Welcome back to another video. So, yeah, I can't see myself doing anything else now. We're just going to continue to grow. And, with the AFL expanding out across internationally, now with obviously no sport going around everywhere else, there's a little chance for us to get out and get around. So, definitely. I can wait. 65 years old in a wheelchair. I look forward to that, mate.
100%, mate. So let's touch on our teams. Let's start with you guys. Now, I think we've had a conversation about this. As you know, I've got a very soft spot for the Port Power. I've had such a random and unique experience on getting onto the inside when you guys were in China for the 3 years that you were there, and from my end, this week's I've copped a little bit of criticism because I've been a little bit too nice to you guys. I haven't got anything bad to say because I guess when you connect personally with people, like off the field, you got Keith Thomas, all your assistant coaches, like they're all the same. They don't leave. You have this family vibe. But tell me from your point of view, what's the Port Adelaide story? You did touch on the consistency before, but what's going on in the Port Adelaide world this season?
I think overall this season, we've just been able to connect as one. I know that over the last couple of years, we've tried to build a connection with the group, and we've had a lot of list changes and a lot of players have come in and out. And I think we've sort of restructured our culture to be more player, like personalised, so more about the personal perspective of football. And I think what's worked so well off the field is now finally pushed into on-field. And I think, as a club, we've tried to keep consistency with who we got in charge, who's the main leaders, and to have Poshy, KT, and Kenny for, I think it's 8 years now, there's a set standard. And I think with the people that we did have during the last few years of the ups and downs and cleaning them out, they weren't driven as such to the end goal. And I think now the core group of players that we have, the likes of Boak, Hartlett, Jonas, Westhoff, Ebert, they've been there for a while. They know what we're all about. And to have the youngsters come through and they're trying to learn off each other, it's really exciting. And I think the great thing is, I think the hub is probably the best thing that's happened to Port Adelaide as well, is the fact that we've all travelled together, we've embraced the situation, taking on the challenge, and we're able to keep that connection going and to feed off each other, and that energy and that excitement that we have at the moment is something that we haven't had, I think, since 2013 when Ken Hinkley first came to the club.
Yeah, no, I actually, it's only been a week for us in the hub, but I feel the same with our group. There was a different energy. Melbourne is a very miserable place right now. Everyone's sad, lockdowns happened again and things of that nature. So for them to get onto the coast, the sun, we have a relatively young group in the sense of not many of them have families. For the most part, they're just younger guys who might have partners, but they're not married or have kids yet. So far for us, and again, it's only been 1 week, we look like we've got a different energy about us at the moment. But you mentioned some of your leaders there. I can see Boki behind you right there. He is an absolute all-time ripper of a fella. He really is. And you guys have that good mix of the older guys who may not be premiership players, but they're good people and they're good people to be around. And then you've got these new kids that you drafted, especially last year, and they've all been able to, just continue with their form. Last year they had a pretty good year, and it's funny. From the outside looking in, I think if I had to pick one of them that I thought would struggle this year, I thought it would be Butters, but he seems to be the one that's gone up again. Yeah,
he's definitely taken it to the next level. I think what's worked so well for him is he's been working with Robbie Gray, and we all know the class of Robbie Gray. He's as good as a person off the field as his talent is on the field. So for him to be mentoring Butters, but also Butters is a pest. To know that hanging around the boys whenever we do it, training and stuff like that, it's funny to see. He's a real pest, but he's also a very professional player. So to see him take the next step, and I completely agree. I thought he'd be the one to drop off, and I actually thought he would be the one not to even make as much of an impact as he did even last year. So for him to take that next step as a little guy he's going to be one of the best small forwards in the comp, I reckon, in a few years' time.
Yeah, wow. No, that's high praise. Talk to me about, from your end, look outside looking in, obviously I focus all my attention on the Blues, but going into this match, and as I said before, one of my best mates growing up is a Port fan, and the comments that he was making over the last fortnight were like, we have the fear factor against the Giants, but we don't have the fear factor against Carlton, and probably rightly so. But from your point of view, what's Carlton doing from your end?
Well, Carlton to me have always been, for some reason, when we play them, I've always looked at the game and thought, danger game. I don't care how well we're going. I've always looked at Carlton, thought danger game. Carlton could be bottom, Port could be top. Danger game. I don't know what it is, but the vibe around Carlton, even now, you're going into this week and people saying, "No, you'll beat Carlton. You'll beat Carlton. They're better Western Bulldogs side that doesn't like travelling, blah, blah, blah." Nah, there's a genuine energy around Carlton at the moment that I feel is similar to Port's. Like, they're taking the game on, and the way they're going about the footy is they're embracing the challenge, taking everything that comes. And I think combining our two teams this week will make for a very attacking type of game. And I was talking to a mate yesterday, and he was saying, "Oh, what do you think about this week?" Besides the fact that it's at the Gabba, and I absolutely hate the Gabba, but
why is that?
Just one, because it's a couple of weeks ago we lost to Brisbane, but I just hate the ground. I hate the dimensions of it. I hate the look of it, and it's nothing against Brisbane and the Gabba, but I don't know. It's an ugly place. So when we play there, we just seem to play ugly football, and that's what worries me too, is playing at the Gabba. But yeah, for Carlton's point of view, I have big praise for how how they're going about it, and taking him on this week. I'm a little bit edgy, man. I don't know. I want edge.
I don't know. I mean, from our end, we've had a funny season as everyone's had. We had a disappointing start. We had a real breakthrough performance against Geelong, and then it was all about, okay, well, it's one game. Can you back it up? And we got the win against the Bombers, and then we fell away against the Saints. And then it was all about, okay, well, can you get back on the horse? And we've obviously done that against the Doggies. And, you could say the Doggies don't like to travel. But, I mean, end of the day, it wasn't just we didn't just fall over the line. It was a really convincing four-quarter performance. And then going into this week, that sentiment is back, the one from after the Geelong game in, breakthrough performance. Can you back it up? So that's what we're looking at doing this week. Can we back up the energy that we brought last week? I don't see the game going as well as what it did against the Doggies, even though umpiring decisions didn't go our way. But I totally agree with you in I think it's going to be a real back and forth game. I even thought it was last year when we played you guys for Westhoff's 250th. And I think both teams love when they have an opportunity to attack. Both teams really love to do it. And I just kind of hope that we have a really good spectacle.
Yeah, I definitely hope so too. And as I touched on with the Gabba, it's not the grounds. It seems to be more the Gabba than it is Metricon, how it gets dewy and the conditions seem to change. What will help is obviously playing the early game. But in terms of the how the game will look in itself, most teams are struggling to get 70 points this year due to the quarters and stuff like that. But I can see this game going both teams over 80. That's how exciting it will be. Carlton's probably a little bit more dangerous down forward in terms of how many options. Because obviously with us, we've got big dicks down front, and then everyone else will just fall into place underneath him, and that's sort of how things have worked for us so far. But you've got the likes of Mackay, you've got Eddie, who's in fine form at the moment. McGovern seems to be taking on the game pretty well at the moment. So, and then the midfield, it's going to be one of those battles. And there's a lot of players from each teams that will probably stand up that we won't even name as best players at the moment in the list. So 22 players each side is going to be a hard-fought contest, but a great spectacle, and I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, 100%. So who are I guess for you guys, because I've got my view of who the danger men are for Port. Who are the key danger men that you look at the matchup and say, oh, God, I'm worried about him? Maybe one or two of them.
For Carlton?
Yes.
Well, obviously you got Patrick Cripps.
Yeah.
And you look at him, he'll break a game open. I still can't get out of my head that last quarter against, I think it was Sydney at Marvel last year, where he just kicked 2 or 3 goals in a row, if I'm right. But
the Lions.
The Lions, that's what it was. Yeah, the Lions game. How he just took it on. And he scares me, mate. He's just one of those players. The other matchup, I think, will be very interesting, and it's worked for a couple of teams previously with Harris Andrews, and I think last week was Phil Davis. Jacob Wiedering will probably play on Charlie Dixon. And And I've always said if Charlie kicks 3 or more goals, Port Adelaide win the game. So that's probably another one I'm thinking. That matchup is probably the main focus for both teams, especially if we play like we did on the weekend and get everyone involved in the way of Charlie. Eddie Betts. Eddie Betts seems to destroy us in whatever game and whatever team he plays in. So
he's a bit like that. No, he's a bit like that. He's got that magic about him. Yeah, I've got a couple. Robbie Gray is one I just worry about because he, by his own standards, he probably hasn't really had the game yet where he's just really announced himself to the season, and he's class, man. And I've been saying it all week. I don't know who plays on him. It might be Plowman. It might be Petreski, Seaton, but from my end, I'm worried about what he can do to us. And there's another little layer to Port this week, which I saw really in full flight over the weekend against the Giants. So you've brought back Burton, and he's great. But what he's allowing you guys to do is he unlocks Houston into the midfield because you've dropped Rockcliffe. And Houston, his second half of 2019 was phenomenal when he went into that midfield. So I worry he might not be one that most people are talking about, but I'm worried about what Houston's going to be able to do. I don't know if we're going to be fully prepared for that because, like I said, Burton going back allows Houston to just add that extra layer to your midfield.
Yeah, definitely. And we as Port fans have been calling for Houston to be in the midfield full time since he went in there late last year, and we thought, all right, he's going to play full time midfield. Allows us with flexibility down back, as he said, Burton. Bonner's not in the side, but he was allowing us to be a bit more flexible as well. It puts Westhoff down back too because he can play anywhere he likes. And Houston's ball use is something we've lacked a lot of skill in the midfield. It's been a lot of Wines, Power Pepper, Rockcliffe, who's not playing. There's sort of that brute strength type players, the short, nitty gritty, get the ball forward and hope for the best type. Whereas Houston, he runs off half back. He's getting a kick. He's hitting us flat on the wing with Amon, Farrell, who's out there as well. And it's just that young crop of players that I think will be most dangerous. And we saw a lot of that against the Giants on the weekend. It's that second tier that's starting to build up. And along with Houston, Houston's probably the main one, but Power Pepper, Amon, as I said, Burton as well. They're just that second tier that we've been missing for the last couple of years. And I think, it's just going to be that if they perform, then I think we'll be in okay stead.
Yeah. Last question. So, any changes that you want to see from your end? I think the team's come out on Friday for us because it's a Sunday game. But what are you looking at? Because I think Ebert got a week, and I think Sutcliffe's done a hammy. So I think you have to make some changes there. Yeah,
we'll make 2 changes, I think, and I hope Motlop gets up from his concussion because he's another one that could probably be a little bit dangerous and go under the radar. I think with Ebert going out, I'd like to see Georgiades come back, which will allow Westhoff to go down back and play on the wing and free us up a little bit more with a bit of flexibility. The other one I think that is fit enough to come back is Xavier Dersma. So if he comes back, then we've got that extra pace and that extra gear again. And he was in some fine form before he got injured as well. So that'd be the 2 changes I'd make, and I hope Kenny follows.
Yeah. No, well, he seems to be a pretty straightforward guy, doesn't he? And that's the one thing, again, that I admire about Port. It's just very direct. There's none of this Adelaide Crows, Fugazi bullshit that comes out. They just talk rubbish and like they're mixed messages. And Port have always, especially under Hinkley, it's just you either played well, you didn't play well. I'm either going to get my job or I'm not going to have my job. He's either going to play or he's not. It's always been very direct, and I've really enjoyed that.
Yeah, definitely. I think we can both say that both our coaches at the moment are putting a pretty direct message into each other's teams and just driving it constantly, and eventually the players will connect and they'll deliver that message on the field with a performance like we have been of late. So I think that's probably the main thing. Having that clear, consistent one message will eventually come to fruition, and I think we're seeing it at the moment, that's for sure.
Yep. Last one. This is the last one before I let you go. Give me a quick prediction for the game.
Look, I think both teams are attacking, but I think we might just pull it off a little bit cleaner. Just, I don't know, something about going forward. And for us, I think too many stars up front that might get a hold of the game a bit. I'm going to say Port by 15.
Yep.
In a tight tussle, but a high-scoring tussle.
Yeah, I agree with the high-scoring tussle. I can see something like a 90 to 82 scoreline. Carlton by 8. Eddie Betts to kick a couple, and Paddy Cripps to return back to his absolute best. But it should be a good one nevertheless. Mate, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Obviously, for you Port Adelaide supporters who may be watching this, make sure you check out the Pear on YouTube and Instagram and everywhere else. And all the best for Sunday, mate.
Look forward to it, mate. Thank you so much for having me, and good luck on the weekend.
Likewise, mate. Cheers.
Cheers.